Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Tuesday weather update, recorded August the 8th. And we've got a series of low pressure zones on the way for New Zealand. At the moment, we've got this one here near Dunedin, and between that and high pressure over eastern Australia, that's why we're feeling the cooler airflow and some windy sou'westers returning to some parts of New Zealand. Now, over the next 10 days or so, there are a number of lows that are moving into New Zealand, but rather than bringing excessive rainfall, which is what they did for the first half of this year, rainfall totals now are returning back to either normal for August or below normal. So some good news starting to show up as those big totals start to gradually taper off from where they were. So we've got plenty of showers for the next 10 days, but not necessarily huge amounts of rain on the way for the New Zealand area. But certainly calm at the moment along the eastern side or eastern half of Australia due to that large high pressure zone. So with that southerly in New Zealand, we've got more snow. This is the 24-hour snow map from Wednesday morning, from tomorrow morning going through till Thursday morning. And you can see that burst of southerlies coming in, and it kind of flicks up the eastern side of the North Island, right up to the Gisborne Ranges, a light dusting of snow for you, not so much on the western side for Taranaki. Heaviest totals around the Southland Otago border, with about 5 to 15 centimetres on the way in that zone there for you. Elsewhere in blue, below 10 centimetres. Rainfall, not a huge amount. We're at the bottom of the key with that blue, green and yellow, which is just, blue is just a couple of spits, and the yellow is 5 to 10 millimetres, and that's from Wednesday morning, the 24 hours again, from that same time zone. So fairly even mix across the country, although driest weather in the east of the North Island to begin with, and then we switch to the Thursday rainfall map, and now those areas get some of that rainfall, but again, not much. The South Island certainly drying out by the time we get to Thursday. And Australia also much drier than it's been. Heaviest rainfall totals in Western Australia and a little bit down here around Melbourne, to the west of Melbourne, I should say, coastal parts of Victoria. So let's get into the forecast. Here we are on Wednesday. There is that big block of high pressure, but there is the low to our east. So between the two, that's a perfect engine for driving up a southerly. That's why Wednesday is colder. Snow flurries here down to 100 or 200 metres. On that snow map I showed you, I should just say, it always looks like it's going to the coast because we've zoomed out on it, but usually that's just indicating 100 or 200 metres for the hills in those coastal areas down here in the lower part of the island. Wednesday won't be too cold for the North Island to begin with. Even though the blue line goes up and over us, that's a sign that the cold airflow is taking a bite out of the atmosphere, not just on the surface of the ground. But as the day wears on, some of that colder airflow will move in to the top of New Zealand. So Wednesday night will be colder. And by Thursday, this is why we're seeing snow around. You've got that cold airflow right up and across the country. That's what that blue line indicates. And then you've got low pressure, weak low pressure, but you've got some in there with that cold air. And that's why we're seeing those snow flurries around the North Island, but not in the South Island where it's dry. And there's a colder change also with some snow flurries for the mountains and ranges of Victoria and Tasmania as we get into Thursday. By Friday, windy westerlies for Australia. For New Zealand, low pressure up here. You can see 1, 2, 3 areas of low pressure, but they're all weak and they're producing patchy areas of rain and showers, but large dry areas in the mix as well. So this weekend, dry on Saturday for New Zealand with the westerly winds returning again. Windy sou'westers for the southeastern corner of Australia, and you've got actually easterlies over here for Western Australia on Saturday. And by Sunday, well, New Zealand's still caught up in this unsettled pattern. It's not necessarily a storm and it's not necessarily a big low pressure zone, but we're not under the high pressure zone that is to our north and our west. So we're in low pressure, windy westerlies, couple of cold fronts in there. To be honest, it's your usual sort of weather for this time of the year, but not as extreme as it could be. That's all from me for today. Back again tomorrow, Wednesday, with our next update. We'll see you then.